Another huge case we're following today comes out of Korea. A former Trump administration ambassador is being held in South Korea, banned from leaving the country. We have an exclusive interview this morning with Ambassador Morse Ton. Ambassador Ton, thank you so much for being here today. You are now the target of a criminal investigation, and you have been placed under a government exit ban preventing you from leaving the country. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Sure. So it's really extraordinary because this is based on something I said at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. And for a U.S. citizen to say something and for that to end up resulting in his not being able to go home back to the U.S., it's really a strange situation because a U.S. citizen speaking on U.S. soil is protected by the U.S. Constitution. And we have the First Amendment in the Constitution that protects free speech and freedom of expression. And so this is truly a stunning sort of thing, but it's also indicative of the breakdown of the rule of law in South Korea and how you have an anti-American regime in place in South Korea as well.
Well, they're saying that you defamed South Korea's president. You deny any wrongdoing. You challenged this travel restriction in court. You were back in court recently. They extended your ban from leaving the country. They want you to stay until the investigation is complete. What was the latest in the latest court appearance that you had? What can you tell us?
Sure. So, Vanessa, if I was a prosecutor and you were to ask me, do I have enough evidence to move forward with the case in regards to the crimes that Lee Jae-myung is said to have committed, I would be able to say, yes, I have enough evidence to move forward with the case. And so that's the nature of it there. And in terms of where things are at, there's been a dangerous escalation because it's moved from the police to the prosecutors. So at this point, anytime they choose, they could choose to seek to arrest me. They could seek to incarcerate me. And this is a dangerous escalation that has taken place. When I pointed out in court and I had a chance to speak about how I'm protected by the US Constitution, how a South Korean court should not have jurisdiction here, how this is allowed under international standards through the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 19, how it's also protected by the Korean standards at the time the statement was made in terms of it being true or believed to be true and in the public interest. This is wrong on every level in terms of jurisdictionally as well as procedurally as well as substantively. And so this is not the rule of law. This is lawfare, where they are weaponizing so-called law to try to go after me. What's also extraordinary about this is this would be disturbing enough if this was against any U.S. citizen. But I had the privilege of serving as one of Trump's ambassadors during his first administration. And this is in the context of an alliance that's supposed to exist between South Korea and the United States. And so that's what makes it even more distressing.
It almost feels like you were set up. You made these statements, you said, in the United States. You traveled to South Korea ahead of the elections there, and now they're telling you that you can't leave. It's almost like they reeled you in and then kept you there. That's what it feels like to me. Do you get that same sense?
Yeah, they're looking for an excuse to do that because I've been speaking out against their injustices. I've been speaking out against their lies. I've been speaking out against the communization of South Korea. I've been speaking out against the rising dictatorship in South Korea. And so this is a way that they're trying to keep me from returning from the United States. I was met as I was leaving the plane by the Seoul Metropolitan Police. They tried to immediately get me to agree agreed to various things, signed various things. I refused to do so. My attorneys were on the other side of baggage claim, and so I deferred it until my attorneys could meet with them and talk with them. But they were following me around, including baggage claim. They were waiting right outside the bathroom when I went to the bathroom. They were flanking me as I was walking out from baggage claim, and so this is lawfare. This is a politicized attempt to go after someone who is trying to help the situation in South Korea, trying to help the constitutional republic to stand for representative democracy, to actually express the will of the people. And this is something that is really a dangerous escalation that has disturbing implications in regards to the Korean-American alliance.
Have you heard anything at all from the State Department? Have they responded?
So there are people in the State Department who have spoken with people in the South Korean government. I do know that. I do know that there have been multiple high-level people in the State Department who are aware of the situation, and I think there's an attempt to address it. And so while most of what is happening behind the scenes is behind the scenes, I still know snippets enough to know that even at the top of the State Department, they are aware of the situation and are seeking to address it.
Well, that's comforting to know that you're being fought for from your government here in America. But it's a scary situation to know that you go into this country and you can't leave. You have a family at home here in America, and you're stuck there battling this corrupt system. You're also battling the elections there. We covered this extensively here on the morning show, what's going on in South Korea. Again, you were there before their elections. Dr. Frank was there as well on behalf of 린델tv. What a disaster that was. Any new updates? Because there were so many protests going on because of what the Koreans feel like was a unjust election, an election that was cheated from right before their eyes. What's new? Any updates there?
Well, Vanessa, what's sad about this is that this has become old in the sense that this has been going on for 24 years in South Korea. And now there is a crushing supermajority in the National Assembly and a president who was not elected by the people. And so the people are calling for the resignation of the president. There are almost 500,000 signatures that are calling for that, and that if he does not resign, that he should be impeached and removed. Now, the leftists had made a big deal when there were 200,000 signatures, and now there are over double that amount. And so it's very much of a double standard, where you have, on the one hand, the leftists having one set of rules that apply to them and a different set of rules that apply to conservatives here. And so this is the situation in the National Assembly, most of which I think was not, these are not the people's representatives that they voted on. Now they have such a supermajority that they can change the Constitution at will. They can pass oppressive, repressive laws at will. And if I were to try to think of some kind of rough analogy, imagine if in the US, President Trump was given a life sentence and 3 more sentences on top of that all his top leaders, cabinet members, top military leaders were also thrown in jail, and that the 2 neighboring countries, in our case, I guess in the US, it would be Canada and Mexico, had gone communist and were attempting a communist takeover. Meanwhile, radical leftists in the US would be trying to communize the US with a supermajority in Congress, with holding the White House, with a large number of the judges also going in that direction. In essence, you have the collapsing of the government in a communist dictatorship direction. And this is the situation in South Korea. And so the people are fighting and fighting hard. They are showing up and they are protesting day after day, week in, week out. But they are crying out for help from America because their government is collapsing and they don't see any other way out other than being able to get help from the country that Koreans, we're talking like 90-ish% of Koreans consider the US to be the most important ally for Korea. And they are really looking and praying for American help, even though they are out there, as you can see, fighting hard and doing what they can in this very difficult situation with the Chinese Communist Party and with North Korean communists poised to really take over the country, to communize it, and to make it like North Korea. And, you know, the CCP thinks they've already won. They think they've already taken over South Korea as they took over Hong Kong. And so South Korea does not want to be Hong Kong number two. You know, it was very sad that one of the things that happened in the first Trump administration, in the midst of so many good things that happened, is that we failed to keep Hong Kong from collapsing into the grasp of the Chinese Communist Party. And the pattern is the same. The tactics are the same. The strategy is the same. And South Koreans are gasping for air right now because they see that they are potentially on the verge of becoming the next Hong Kong or the next Venezuela.
It's hard to watch, Ambassador. It's hard to read the emails that I receive since I've been covering the election controversy there in the country. So many of the Koreans are emailing me, writing me, asking for help from America. I want to show you one and then get your reaction. This viewer email came in. It says, Miss Vanessa, my country, South Korea, has been occupied by radical Democrats for 2 years. They are trying to oppress freedom of speech, press, and religion. Ambassador, what's your reaction to this email?
You know, the writer is exactly right. There is tremendous oppression and repression going on. These basic rights and freedom are almost completely destroyed. The laws that are being passed are destroying them. And so when you read Democrats, though, think more like extreme socialists / communists. That would give you a better sense of who they're talking about. And there's been a lot of, it seems, elite capture inside of South Korea by the CCP. The agents and spies and operatives of the Chinese Communist Party and North Korea are running wild, while this regime in South Korea has eliminated counterintelligence, where they have decided to give batons instead of guns to those guarding the border with North Korea. And there was a law that was just operationalized very recently that if there is anything said against Lee Jae-myung, the fake illegitimate president, this could be considered hate speech and people can be prosecuted. And they are also going after US companies. Coupang has been in the crosshairs. Starbucks has been in the crosshairs. They are also trying to change history and create their own narrative. And if anyone doesn't agree with that, then they are subject to prosecution as well. And so these prosecutions are happening. All sorts of important leaders in Korea have been prosecuted, have been thrown in jail. This is going on. And so the situation is very serious. And we are in genuine jeopardy of losing our key ally in the region, South Korea, to communist forces.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and it's very scary. But, you know, I see a lot of similarities in what you're talking about going on in South Korea. You gave an analogy about America And there's a lot of similarities to what you were saying in your analogy to what we're actually seeing here in the country. And we say it all the time. We cannot let communists come into our country. We cannot let a communist in office here in America. And we're just knocking on the door of communism right here in our own land, Ambassador. So we're seeing what's going on in South Korea. I hope people wake up in America, because this could be us.
And, thank God for President Trump, who is so against communism. He believes that he's been prepared his whole life to fight communists. And whether in the United States, whether in the Western Hemisphere, whether the Chinese Communist Party, whether it's North Korea, this president is one who sees that mission before him very clearly. And I'm very thankful for that. We have a Secretary of State whose family came from communist Cuba, and his family knows what it was like to live under a communist system. And so he understands that contrast, and he is fighting against that as well. And so I'm very grateful that we have Secretary Rubio as our Secretary of State. And so this administration is doing a fabulous job. What the U.S. has done with respect to Venezuela, Cuba, what's going on in Cuba, what's going on in Iran, these are all very important things. And as the focus potentially shifts to Northeast Asia, given that the CCP is the biggest enemy of the United States, and the CCP has its tentacles all over the world, but the front line of the battle is Taiwan and the Korean Peninsula. And so I expect at some point the Trump administration's focus will be more directly on what the CCP is doing in its own region. And when that day happens, I would look forward to the Korean Peninsula being addressed in such a way such that South Korea is kept from being devoured by the communists. And if anything, if things could go the opposite direction, and there could be a reunification of the peninsula under a constitutional republic, in a representative democracy, and a system that is against communism and is the system that has brought the most prosperity around the world, a free market system. If that can happen across the Korean Peninsula, that would be fantastic. There is opportunity even in the midst of crisis.
And what comes next for you? I know that you just recently, we talked about having a court case recently. They extended your stay there, I guess you could say. And now, I mean, the fight continues. Is there another court case coming up for you? Do you just sit around and wait? Like, what's the days ahead look like for you?
Yeah, the prosecutors are demanding to interrogate me. My attorneys up to now have been resisting that. And I think the best way for me to be able to come home is for the U.S. government to communicate with the South Korean government in no uncertain terms that our government will not allow one of Trump's former ambassadors to be, in essence, be held hostage here in South Korea and to be subjected to a lawfare case that is seeking to keep my voice from being heard by the Korean people and the American government and people, when what I'm trying to do is trying to strengthen the alliance, trying to fight against the incursions of communism, trying to fight for election integrity. These are the things I'm doing. I'm standing for the things that America stands for. And this is what I believe I'm called to do. And yet I could potentially they could potentially make a warrant for my arrest. They could potentially throw me into a cockroach-infested prison that would barely be able to even fit my frame in it. And, I heard about the prison experience of Pastor Sun, who I advocated for in the U.S. for his release. Thankfully, Vice President Vance went to the Prime Minister of Korea and demanded the release of Pastor Sun. He was released. I just had the opportunity to go to his church and to speak with him yesterday. But he described to me the prison conditions. And so I am describing to you the prison condition that he experienced. Moldy toilet, barely enough sustenance. It's more liquid than anything solid in terms of the food. This is what Pastor Sun was subjected to. This is what other Korean leaders and ordinary citizens are being subjected to. And this is potentially the threat of what they would seek to do to me as well. The US government can demand otherwise. And if that happens, I think the South Korean government would not heed that to its own peril.
Well, we're rooting for you, Ambassador. Another reason we brought you on today is to get the word out and spread the word to free you from South Korea. You've done a wonderful job. The fight in the first administration all the way to now, and continuing to be a voice for the South Korean people, also the people of the United States. We appreciate you. We're rooting for you. And if there's any updates, please let us know. We'll continue to get the word out for you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I appreciate it a lot. And it would be great if the American people and our government are able to rise up together with our key ally, South Korea, the people of South Korea, who really love the United States and are really looking to the U.S. They've been faithful allies and partners of the United States over the years, and I would only want that key alliance to be strengthened and to grow deeper as we move forward.
Absolutely. We'll join hands and fight together. Ambassador Morse Ton, thank you so much for being here with us today. Again, we're rooting for you, and we'll keep everyone updated on your situation there.
Thank you so much, Vanessa.